actively trying to pursue them. You're single, you know. So it's you know, when I got out of church at 23, 24, I got right to the PUA, or again the seduction community scene, and started pursuing women again. And essentially, they had power over me at that point. But when I wasn't doing that, when I was in church, the women, at least outside the church, had no power over me because I wasn't pursuing them. I didn't care. You know, I was actually resisting them. And I kind of noticed the same energy again now. I haven't been around a ton of women a day, but that doesn't really matter because I can tell that it's a similar energy. So, you know, take that for what it is. Again, you have to maintain that, you know, relationships are broken. You can't use that as an angle because if you use it as an angle, then you're going to start uh, wanting results. But you have to realize that relationships are bad, essentially, you know. So that's why you would resist, and that's why you would not actively um, take steps to uh, engage a woman, you know. And even when you are conversating with one, you don't want to engage on a romantic level. You're going to resist, you know. And you know, I think that could work for some casuals, you know, because if they're coming after you and you continue to resist, that would be, you know, essentially you're kind of in control in that situation, you know, and you can cut them off at any time. You're not addicted because you got to remain resistant, realizing the problems that you could essentially become a slave to a woman very easily. You know, you have to be careful, and it may not be worth it altogether to begin with. And I'm talking about just anything, you know. And you have to make peace with that. You have to make peace that it's you're resisting, you're withdrawing, you're choosing not to engage in relationships or romantic encounters anymore. You know, so you got to say if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Essentially, you know. Um, Granted, I'm 30 years old. You know, I still like sex. I still look at pornography. I think it's less a sexual addiction, potentially, than it is a female validation addiction. You know, I wrote a comment on another video that discussed. There's a book called The Game. He's essentially one of the main guys in the quote unquote PUA community, and you know, this guy was getting laid apparently fairly often. You know, because he was going out all the time, and he was apparently really good at what he did. His little method, mystery method, it's called. It's absolute bullshit. Even in the community, even when I was in the seduction community, as it were, I thought he was a fucking joke. But he, in the very first chapter of this book, The Game, is wanting to commit suicide essentially, and he's getting laid fairly often. So it's not about the sex. I think in many cases, or if not all cases, it's about the validation that we become addicted to. And we say again that we're not addicted to validate, or that we're not attached to validation, all these things, but you are in essence. It may not be one particular person, although I think there's some of that. Uh, but you're addicted to female validation, is what it is. And when you withdraw from that, don't need it anymore, man, I'll tell you, you feel in control again. I guess freedom is the term often used, but you feel like, wow, no one's controlling me. And that's a wonderful feeling. You know, and you couple that with the fact that, you know, things aren't so bad. And potentially women could come in and out of your life, you know, like my ex-wife and I still conversate from time to time. You know, I recognize there's no way I would ever get back into a committed type of relationship with her, but, you know, she wanted to come over for a while and then leave, then I'm open to that. I can say at this point. Does that make me not a man going my own way? I don't think so. I'm still going my own way. As long as I maintain that I will not engage in a relationship, I will not actively pursue any type of romantic um, engagement. And I think the other thing to keep in mind too, and again, this is from my experience in the church, when I, made the decision not to pursue women outside the church and not to look them up and down, which I was very accustomed to doing before that. It takes some training to maintain that. If you're new to this process, and I'm new to this decision, but I'm not necessarily new to withdrawing from relationships. I've done it before in my past for years, and it can take some time. I don't think. I mean, it's almost like breaking an alcohol addiction or something. It could obviously it could be worse because our sex drive is biological and so strong, and it doesn't really stop. It's like eventually your body, when you withdraw from alcohol, I suppose, or whatever, then the cravings uh, become less and less, and maybe even potentially cease. But with the sex drive, not necessarily. You have to continue to resist and resist with the knowledge that why you're doing it. You're not doing it just to be cool, but you got to do it out of realizing what relationships do. And I'm telling you now, I can't imagine being in a relationship and not becoming validation seeking or addicted to some extent. I can't imagine it really. I mean, not in anything beyond the casual. So it's just a point I've observed. I saw that Stardust did a video on how sex, or uh, I'm not sure if he talks on female validation in it. I haven't actually seen it yet, but I'm excited to listen to it. Um, and Vincent mentioned it. Basically, the same thing happened to his record, or to him in his experience. I mean, recognize what that is. Women are actually attracted to that. They're fucked up and they want to see. They I think are engaged by the challenge or whatever. The fact that you're different, from other men. They're like, why is this guy not checking me up and down? Why don't I have power over him? I want to get power over him. That's I think essentially what's going on in their biology. So just an observation. You can tell me, if I'm accurate, or if I'm a little off or whatever. I really don't think I'm off, because like I said, I have experience with this before, and I notice the energy is the same. So, but I feel better about everything overall. Um, I think I can do this. I actually got a email today about a job in the Bahamas potentially. It's pretty isolated, which I guess could be a good thing. I suppose, to really strengthen me from uh, you know the addiction that I'm coming off of, uh, and getting back to that. It wouldn't necessarily be a permanent job, maybe a few years, but anyway, it would be a good financial opportunity for me, which is another good thing. So, anyway, thanks for listening, and hopefully, I'll have more for you later.